sooks, no lefties. That's my present to you. After Australia absolutely thumps England at the cricket, it's just a chance to sit back with normal people like yourself and have a chat about the week ahead and a couple of days in the rear vision mirror. Daniel Wild, of course, the Institute of Public Affairs, joining us from beautiful Adelaide, and the wonderful Lee Hanson, future Senator Lee Hanson. She joins us now from Tassie. Lovely to see you both. So, before I get onto polls and all the rest of it, and actually there's some really fascinating data that I haven't got to yet, which is about immigration and about why people feel the way they do about immigration. Look, you can both have a kick from in front about old mate Annika Wells. Don't you love this here? It's all within the rules. It's all within the rules for me to take the proverbial as often as she does, be it New York, be it Thredbo, be it the mate's birthday, be it the Melbourne Cup. Lee, look, will the Prime Minister try to protect her? Will the media probably move on? Yeah, but there's plenty there, and I'm saying the receipts, I've got them here. It is extraordinary the freebies this lady takes.
It is extraordinary, and of course she's going to be protected. However, we need to hold her to account. The people need to hold her account, and the media need to hold her to account. It does not pass the pub test, pure and simple. Yep. When we have cost of living crisis here, and I heard you talk about before the stats have risen in regards to people with multiple jobs, and then we hear about politicians jet setting on the taxpayers' dollars. I believe one meal an evening in Paris was $1,200. On what? French champagne? Is that really essential for a parliamentary trip? We need to hold these politicians to account. We cannot have them defaulting to, oh, it's in the rules or the guidelines. If that's the case, the guidelines need reviewing. The guidelines need amending. And, you know, if it was coming out of her pocket and her wage, I bet you she wouldn't have spent that money, and she would have had more scrutiny over the spending. So I actually call for, Paul, we need to look at a independent body or some sort of contract that actually reviews this spending. But in addition to a spending, I think politicians should be held account for their false promises as well. You know, coming into elections, all the false promises they make, and it never comes to fruition. Why can't we put in a system where if they don't deliver, they're held to account and they have to pay back or step back out of their jobs?
Well, hallelujah, hallelujah. So, Lee, 81% of people say one of the biggest reasons why we should be pausing this stuff is because of housing, and more than half, in fact more than 60% of people believing that the pause should continue until the housing is fixed. Surprise, One Nation's always been there, but this is one of those ones, again, the polite society, I guarantee you that opinion poll is going to be buried somewhere underneath the problems for the Libs, but the reality is that to understand the problems with the political class is to understand how migration and mass migration, remember referred to as the Libs as somehow unpleasant and offensive to say, again, it's not about whom lives next door, it's about whether there is a place to live next door.
Spot on, Paul. And totally agree, Dan. People are feeling it. It is exactly everyday lived experiences. Why are we afraid to have these conversations? The major parties skirt around it. They won't address it. They won't deal it head on. You know, they don't want to be branded with the racial tags, hence why One Nation cops those ones, because we're the only ones that are actually coming forward and dealing with the conversation, which is purely we cannot sustain the numbers. And it's putting pressure, as you say, housing, education, infrastructure, roads, medical, etc. The list goes on. One Nation's policy is actually that we cap it at 130,000, and that works out about net neutral. You think about people leaving the country and deaths, and then by having 130, it still allows those truly skilled immigrants to come in, as you talked about, Dan, to help us where it's needed. We cannot sustain any more numbers, and we've got to stop branding these radical left tags of race as being, or cultural as being, the reason why we're wanting this conversation. We've got to look at what's best for our country and our future, and we shouldn't be shying away from it.
Lee, your bold prediction, please.
Well, for first, Dan, I need to get up with sport more if I'm going to do bold predictions with you. I'm a little bit in the dark on these ones, so I've got to get my, pull the socks up there. My bold prediction for this week, I'm curious to see, and hopeful maybe, that Barnaby's sandwich press steak might have digested a little bit and he's closer to making a decision. We can only hope. We'll have to wait.